For me, the real journey started here, at the Pilgrim office in the beautiful town of Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port in the French Pyrenees. That's me, Kate. After collecting my Pilgrim passport with its first stamp and a scallop shell to go on the outside of my backpack, I explored the ancient town with my family. In the year I turned 50, it was a birthday present I gave myself. After years of working and bringing up children, I needed a personal challenge. I took some leave from my job and set myself the goal of walking 800 kilometres, around 500 miles, along the ancient pilgrimage route of the Camino Frances to Santiago de Compostela in northwest Spain. And I would be doing most of it alone. For centuries, pilgrims have made this quest, although in years gone by they usually set off from their own front doors. Despite using modern means of transport to get to the start, it felt as though I was about to cross the boundaries of time and join in the adventure with those who had gone before me over centuries. After an early breakfast, I left the auberge with my family, who would be joining me for the first few days.
Can't believe it.
It was hard to believe that after a year of planning, that it was actually happening. The thought of doing this alone was scary but also exciting. I didn't know if my body would take me that far, although there was no real reason why it wouldn't. It's just that I had never challenged it in that way before. A pilgrimage is for the body, mind and spirit. How would I fare mentally and spiritually? I didn't know, but I did know that I was meant to be here.
But it's quite hard work walking out of Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port and on our way up to Orrison at the moment, so soon I think we'll approach the fork in the road and head off up the even steeper track. But it is so beautiful, it's really beautiful. I've got a really squiffy hat, but I think that's just the way it's going to be. There's a split in the road, so we don't want to go that way. We want to go up over here.
I would like to tell the pre-Camino Kate that I would rarely feel alone, along with this strange feeling of connecting with the millions who had already trodden this path. I would find that on the Camino, it's easy to connect, share, and just be me with other pilgrims.
Amazing views.
There's a freedom on the trail in not having to be someone that you're not. I felt safe and happy in my own skin.
So we just had lunch at the Orrison auberge. We are now walking up to Border, and I think we're almost there. It's not very far past Orrison. The good news is, although it's been incredibly misty all morning, the mist has actually been rolling in through the windows of Orrison. I think it is starting to clear and the sun is starting to burn it off. So I'm really hoping that we are going to get some good views at some point. During this climate, it seems only fair really that we get some views for the hard work that we put in. So let's hope so.
The clouds did clear later in the afternoon and we retreated to some stunning views at Border. Here we would be orientated to Camino life by the Hospitalero Lauren, a pilgrim himself, and we would meet other pilgrims from around the world over a shared meal with stunning views. After waking up to an incredible mountain sunrise, it was time to continue on the Napoleon route over the Pyrenees into Spain.
Just walking out from the auberge and back onto the way, onto the Camino route, it's been incredible, the views, because the fog is in the valleys and we can see the mountain peaks above it. The sun is actually coming up now. I'm going to feel the heat soon. Just seeing other pilgrims walking on past saying Buen Camino. It's a really nice atmosphere. My daughter and husband are well ahead of me, partly because I'm taking pictures, but partly because they are fitter than I am. But I'm just totally enjoying the thrill of actually being on the Camino, and yeah, a bit awestruck really. Don't really have the words to share.
I will just let the views speak for themselves.
food truck.
Woohoo! Just after the horses was a food truck, which was a good excuse to rest.
Follow the shell, follow the arrow.
The day was definitely challenging, but the weather conditions were ideal, the scenery incredible, and the sense of achievement worth it.
Hello.
Arriving in Roncesvalles, we met my daughter who was waiting for us, and after checking into our accommodation, we had a look around. The next morning we set off early. Today would be one of the hottest days.
So we are just leaving Roncesvalles. I think we left just before 7. We decided to push on this morning while it's cool. We're now in between Bourget. Bourget was a lovely little town, really beautiful. Now on our way towards Espinal. So the destination for today is Zubiri. Thought today was going to be mainly downhill, but there are definitely uphills because this is tough. We found our friends.
Hello. Just in case you forget, we are from Singapore.
And what are your names?
Navina
and Phi.
Yay! Pilgrim breakfast. It's very pretty. It's getting warm now, and it's about 9 AM now. The sun is out. And really starting to feel the heat already. We've just met Harry, who we met in the first night. Anyway, give me some words of wisdom. You were telling me that although it gets easier on the way, because it feels hard now, my back's hurting.
The Camino is split into 3. There's the physical, the mental, and then the spiritual. For me, that's a bit too prescriptive. I can have these 3 experiences in a day.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the first section is very physical. It's getting us all fit enough to take us in our stride. But meanwhile, the scenery is amazing, and the history is amazing, and you'll meet some wonderful people.
It is so hot, and I have sweated so much. And just stopped to get some electrolytes and more water because I'm just saturated all over. It's got really hot, obviously, and also walking up and down hill with the pack on, it's harder than I thought it was going to be. But it's still enjoyable, I'm still having fun, so that's good. Downhill from here. There's a sign, so we'll see how far we've got to go to Zubiri. 1 hour 20. We have come out of the shaded forest and we're now in the open, and the views, they're pretty good. More than pretty good, they're really good. Onwards. Through the trees we can see Zubiri, but it's still quite a steep path to get down there. It is a welcome sight because that's where we're staying. Zubiri. Oh, cheese, it's just all welded together in a big blob. It's actually a really good melted cheese sandwich.
It's beautiful.
We cooled off in the river while waiting for our albergue to open. Casa Suseia was our stop for the night in Zubiri. It was a lovely place to stay with a communal pilgrim dinner and incredible food. The next morning we retraced our footsteps over the Roman bridge and headed in the direction of Pamplona. In the albergue last night, there was a couple of people that had just retired and they'd set off to do the Camino to kind of figure out what's next. The Camino for many is a liminal space. A number of fellow pilgrims were at a transitional point in their lives, whether that was retirement, recovery from illness, or walking after the loss of a job or even a loved one. Yesterday we were hiking through forests, and today it didn't look like we were, but what's really nice is there are bushes, trees growing either side of the path, creating this green tunnel. Welcome to the Basque Country. The Camino is a good place to give yourself space to figure out what comes next, to focus on each step, the here and now, and in the newly adopted routine of eat, sleep, walk, repeat, slowly let the next stages of life begin to work themselves out. Instead of pushing on to Pamplona, we took an alternate route to a Donativo albergue in Zabaldika. It's run by volunteers and supported by a community of nuns. We've got our bags there, so to make sure we've got a place. It's actually really cringy to hear myself say that. As I started the Camino, I was so worried about where I would be sleeping each night and whether I would have a bed. It was one of the fears I carried. But at this beautiful albergue with its adjoining church, we were encouraged to release our fears by literally sticking them to the cross.
Evening and welcome to the Zabaldika Paris Hostel.
Hotel no, de la bendición, bendice Señor la alimentación, bendice a mis amigos, bendice a mis hermanos.
It's places like Zabaldika along the Camino that mean this is a long distance walk like no other. Zabaldika was a place of love, joy and acceptance. As I left some of my anxiety behind, we set off towards the city of Pamplona. Everyone is in Cafe Aruna. I'm just doing a quick run to Decathlon. There's a couple of bits that I would like there, so I'm going to see if I can get them while we're in town, because we're going to head out very shortly. We are now in the centre of Pamplona, but leaving. It's midday, and we have, according to Google Maps, a 4-hour hike to Ultreia. And we also have to go over the Alto del Perdon, probably pronouncing it wrong, but that is where the bronze statues are on top of the hill
So we also have 400 meters in height to climb, and then we come down the other side. So quite a distance to go. We've just been hanging out in a cafe with Debbie, one of our Camino friends. It was really nice. We've had different pinchos, I suppose, but churros, sandwiches. Now we have got quite a bit of hike ahead of us. Keep looking out for the shells and the arrows. The sunflowers look so sad. I've given my umbrella its first try. It's actually much nicer walking in some shade. Trying to figure out how to attach it properly to my pack. The straps that I've put on it before I set off have slipped right down, so I've just wedged it in the water bowl carrier here with an upside down small water bottle, and I'm holding on to it. Seems to be doing the trick for now. The reality is dawning on me. It's not that close hill which looked very high, but it was actually close by. It's a hill over there in the distance with lots more wind turbines on. After a steep ascent, it is a steep descent to Ultreia. We are coming into Ultreia now. Today we're doing a shorter stage, 20 kilometers, and we're walking to Lorca. Albanos, Puente Lorena. There are pilgrims crossing the Pilgrim Bridge. After Puente Lorena, it was pretty flat for a bit and it got quite hot. We're now starting to climb again, and I think it's a climb all the way to the village of Maneru. Getting ready for a fiesta. I just looked up and I realised that the town of the village of Zubiri was much nearer than I thought.
Today would be my husband and daughter's last day on the Camino, as they needed to return home. Before they left, we wanted to catch up with some of our friends who we had met at Border on the first night. This meant we would be walking 29 kilometers to catch up with them in the town of Los Arcos. Passing through Irache, it would have been wrong not to stop at the blacksmith's shop, followed by, of course, the famous wine fountain. Yes, a fountain that flows with wine.
Oh, that's really strong. An ancient swimming pool. We now have a little bit of rain. Today is the first time it's actually rained on the Camino for us. It's not too bad though. It's just when it stops raining, it's too warm to wear a rain jacket, so I stop and then take it off again.
As we entered Los Arcos, it started to dawn on me that when I set out tomorrow, I would be a solo pilgrim. We had a reunion with our friends, and the next morning I waved goodbye to my family at the bus stop. Now my solo pilgrimage would begin.
Just said goodbye to my family, and it's really sad, and I'm about to just have breakfast on my own in a cafe there at the bus stop going to Logroño.
Yes, that was me in a cafe on the verge of tears. I didn't realise that it would be so hard to say goodbye to my family after walking with them for the first 7 days on the Camino, but with 634 kilometres to Santiago, it was time for me to set out alone.
And it's this way. Los Arcos is here, across from France here. This is Navarra, the region that we've been walking through for the past 7 days. Soon the Camino is going to be entering into Rioja. I don't have to plan as much now because I'm on my own. I don't think it's really hit me yet, being on my own. But all I can say is I definitely feel sad. It's really sad leaving my family. I've actually really enjoyed them being with me on the Camino. They've got to experience what it is that I'm doing. They felt the pain. They've met the people. They've experienced the delights of albergues and other places that we've stayed in, and they've just got to really experience what it's actually like walking the Camino. I think you can watch YouTube videos, you can read the books, you can watch movies, but until you're actually here experiencing it yourself, you can't really get to grips with what it's like. So for that reason, I'm so pleased that they have got to experience it. And I think they've probably got a new admiration for me. They didn't appreciate how much it was going to hurt, and how much it takes just to get up and keep walking every single day, day after day. Yeah, so I'm really glad they got to experience that. It's good.
I decided today that I needed to take care of myself, to allow my body some time to rest and my mind to adjust to the next chapter. I would take it easy and just cover a short distance. A rainbow on the horizon gave me some encouragement, and I pressed on an otherwise quite barren landscape towards Sansol.
Some bisigrinos. Pharmacy, good. I've just bought some blister treatment. My family had actually used up all of my Compede that I brought with me. I hadn't needed it, but of course on day 7 I get my first blister. I asked the guy, do you sell many of these? He said yes, many. And actually the Compede display is right by the counter as you walk in the door. You can't miss it. It's probably his biggest seller. Torres del Rio.
With arriving so early, I was able to explore the village.
Just walked up to the church in Torres del Rio. Sadly it's closed. I've got an hour or a bit more to wait before I can check in.
This gave me time to meet up with other pilgrims before making full use of the accommodation facilities.
Swimming pool on the Camino! This is a bit of a bonus. Wasn't expecting to have a swimming pool on the Camino. I've had to improvise for a swimsuit, but I'm in the pool and it feels amazing on my muscles. So after feeling pretty tired today and a bit low after leaving my family, I am now feeling a bit invigorated. I've met some lovely Australians. This is Brendan from Australia, and he's here with his dad, Shane. So I've met some new friends. Gonna have dinner soon, but having a swim.
After a shorter day where I took time to rest, have fun, and spend time with other pilgrims, I set off the next day with more confidence that I could do this pilgrimage on my own and enjoy it.
It's morning on day 9. Today is a 20-kilometre hike to Logroño. Lovely views this morning. Similar to the last couple of days. Sort of yellowy brown colour, I suppose. Mountains in the background over there. But it's just really nice seeing the sky change colour this time in the morning. Nearly in Rioja. Walking past vineyards, approaching Viana now. Another bull town. Here is Bullring.
Having made it through Navarra and entered the region of Rioja, it was really apparent that I was in this famous wine-growing region.
We're coming into Logroño. The path is actually taking us away from the industrial area through vineyards, and we've got views of the mountains. Here's the first view of Logroño and the bridge we're about to walk over.
Logroño is dominated by its cathedral in the central square. I took my time to look around. Afterwards, while in the main square, I realised how many pilgrims I recognised. Logroño is known for its bars that sell pinchos or tapas, and it was fun to explore these with other pilgrims.
Just leaving Logroño, I managed to get a room on booking.com. It was like in an apartment, it wasn't an albergue. Then shared it with another pilgrim from the States, and it worked out about 21 euros each, something like that. I got a good night's sleep, so it was definitely helpful. Leaving the city is a little bit confusing, but there are signs. I've already asked a couple of people, and I'm also seeing many other pilgrims. Over there is a group. Well, I know some of them actually. I met them last night in the tapas bars. What I'm really liking is, obviously I'm a pilgrim on my own, or a lone pilgrim, but there's all these people that I know. It's really strange. So there's people I can wave hello to, but obviously we're all a transient group. So if I was to stay here a few nights, I wouldn't know anyone again. But if I keep moving with the group, then I'm always actually going to know somebody wherever I stop.
I took an alternate route out of the city through a park.
Rosa del Camino de Santiago, a St. James Way rose.
After leaving the industrial area of Logroño, there was a beautiful park centred around an artificial lake. Then yet again, there were plenty of reminders that we were in wine country.
Approaching the town of Navarrete. Looking forward to getting a second breakfast, which is quite common for pilgrims. Thinking of pressing on to Nájera, which is another 15 kilometers away. I've just texted an albergue to see if they have space for me. Yeah, waiting to hear back. Otherwise, I'll just play it by ear. Sometimes the Camino is absolutely stunning and you go through some really interesting places. Other times, the Camino goes right next to a main road. It's just the way it is. It turns out I've just gone an alternate route which goes to a small little town called Ventosa, more like a village. The main Camino path actually didn't come here. This was a little detour. You can stay here if you don't want to walk all the way to wherever I'm staying tonight, beginning with an N. It has been more pretty. It's a nicer route to take, but I've added at least another kilometre. Not very much, but today was going to be a 29 kilometre day. I've just turned it into a 30 kilometre day, I think.
I arrived into Nájera by late afternoon.
The other side of this bridge, by the river, is my albergue for the night, so happy to see that. Good morning. This is day 11 for me. First thing this morning, I got to walk with two other ladies for the first 5-6 kilometers, and that was really nice. A lady that I'd met on day 2 at Roncesvalles, she saw me this morning in the albergue. She was having a breakfast and was like, "Hey," and yeah, that was lovely seeing her again, and we had coffee together in a cafe and then set off on the trail together. My intention today is to get all the way to Granon because there's a Donativo albergue there that I've heard so much about. I've seen it on people's YouTube videos and it just looks an incredible place to stay. I may get there late, but apparently they never turn anyone away, and my intention is to push on through. So that's what I'm going to do. Most of the sunflowers look really sad, except for this one. Hello.
Myths, legends and stories of miracles abound on the Camino. In the town of Santo Domingo, one such story involves a pilgrim boy being hanged for stealing silver and 2 roast chickens. Both the boy and the chickens survived. Now there are always 2 live chickens living in the cathedral, and you can go and visit them.
Santo Domingo, beautiful place. The cathedral with the chickens. The cathedral unfortunately was closed because it's siesta time and I'm hiking in the heat of the day. But I did see some people that I knew, saw quite a few people that I knew actually that were sitting at tables at a bar in the centre of Santo Domingo. So I joined one table. I had a cheeky beer, but I've decided that I really want to go to Granon, so I'm pressing on. I've put my sun umbrella up and I'll just enjoy the walk. Definitely a way of hydrating the crops. Sad sunflowers. Nearly at Granon now.
Arriving in Granon, I reunited with some of my friends who were having a drink in the bar outside the church and albergue, so I joined them before checking in. The accommodation is adjoined to a church. It's been used by pilgrims for centuries. On the day I arrived, it was pretty busy and practically every sleeping space was taken up with a mat on one of the 3 floors. All pilgrims pitch in to make dinner, set tables, wash up, or even provide musical accompaniment. In the evening, after dinner, there was a special prayer and sharing time in a balcony room above the church. It was definitely a special time, even if I didn't get that much sleep.
Good morning. Last night I stayed at Granon at Donativo. It's pretty famous on the Camino for being a very special place, and it really was a very special place. It's run by volunteers. It's an albergue that is part of a church, so you're actually sleeping in a church in rooms that I think have been used by pilgrims for centuries. It's all very communal. At 6 o'clock they ring a bell, and then that's time for everyone to get together and be allocated tasks for cooking dinner or setting the table, moving chairs, whatever it is that needs doing. At 7 o'clock they have mass in the church with people from the village. 8 o'clock is dinner, and then after that there's a special ceremony time in the main church. So you go through into one of the sleeping areas. There's a door that takes you into this upper room in the church, and there are these wooden carved out chairs. There's candles on the arm of each chair all around this little area.
As I reflected on my time at Granon, I appreciated some solitude while walking through the incredible landscape while the sun rose in the sky. Several kilometres later, I came across an open church where I was invited in and given a candle to light and given a blessing and a prayer card before continuing on my way. It was a special moment for me on the Camino.
Hello. Oh, look at you. Look at you. I'm following George from Switzerland. In the last village we were disappointed there was no cafe, but I said, oh, I've got some almonds, and he had an apple, so I shared my almonds and he shared his apple, and we had water and apple and almonds.
Arriving in Belorado, it was clear that the people of the town were gearing up for a fiesta. I didn't stay in Belorado. I pushed on to Villambastia, a small village outside. However, the people that did stay in Belorado did not get much sleep, as the fiesta lasted the whole night.
Good morning. I'm setting off. It's before dawn, and I'm just trying to figure out where the Camino signs are so I can find my way out of this little village. Last night, in the early hours of this morning, there was a really loud thunderstorm that woke me up. I was a bit concerned I would be walking in the rain, but even more concerned walking with thunder and lightning. Well, with the lightning. The storm seems to have stopped now. It's overcast, not too hot. Yeah, the weather conditions are great at the moment. Hoping they stay that way. It is raining more now. I put my rain jacket on a little while ago because it was little spots. It's getting heavier. It can't be sunny every day on the Camino, and that's okay. A couple of my friends are up ahead. They're American, but they asked me what I wanted to do, bearing in mind that it was raining. Did I want to stop and wait for it to pass? My reply was, I'm from England. I'm used to rain. I actually feel really happy today in the rain. It feels refreshing, that smell of autumn as you walk through the trees. Yeah, I feel good. After leaving Villafranca Monte de Orca, there is a 12-kilometre stretch which has no water, no facilities, and it's a bit of a climb up a hill and then back down again.
With the start of September and the newly arrived rain, there is a distinct sense of autumn in the air.
The ferns are going brown. The leaves on the trees are starting to go a little bit brown. Yeah, they are changing and falling. For me, this is a beautiful day. I'm loving it. And I'm enjoying being on my own as well, knowing that I've got friends to catch up with later this afternoon. It's a nice mix, sometimes walking alone, sometimes walking with others, sometimes walking with somebody brand new, sometimes walking with someone that I've known since day one, and other times just by myself. It's better than I imagined, and all my fears before I set off. Will I make any friends? Will I be okay walking on my own? That was another. They've vanished now. They go very quickly. You soon develop community. When you stay in the smaller places, that's when even more barriers get broken down. I think staying off stage is when I got to speak more to a French couple and a Spanish family, where in the bigger stages early on, it was quite easy to see that people were kind of settling into little language groups. That gets mixed up as well. If you have any worries about, will I meet anyone? Can I do this on my own? Can I do this as a woman on my own? The answer is, yes, you can. Rain get on, rain get off, rain get on again. It's just how it's going to be today. There's a monument here for 300 people that were shot during the first months of the Spanish Civil War. Yeah, sadly it is a mass human grave. This is the second memorial that I've come to on the Camino where many people have been executed during the Spanish Civil War. Oh, I feel chills. It is cold, but I feel chills. It's horrific. Some of the things that man does, man and woman. I just had these clods of dirt just stuck to the soles of my trail runners. Yeah, today's been very different. Normally the terrain has been stony, gravelly, dusty, sometimes it's tarmac, but I just walked through this area of orange mud. If you're wondering what the terrain was like on the Camino, well, it varies and it depends on the weather conditions.
I caught up with my friends in the town of Agres, and together we pushed on through the final kilometres to Atapuerca, where we stayed the night. In chapter 3, I will be heading towards the city of Burgos. My journey on the Camino Frances continued from Atapuerca on a misty and atmospheric September morning.
On the way from Atapuerca to Burgos this morning, we just walked past the labyrinth in the mist. Then I came across a pair of men's pants on the floor with a safety pin which was open, so they've obviously fallen off someone's backpack. I've just asked one Spanish pilgrim, they're not his. I'm trying to catch up with the men ahead of me to return them to their rightful owner, because it would be really bad to be separated from your clean pants, underpants, whatever you call them.
This is me rushing ahead.
There was a happy ending to the pants story. They got reunited with their French owner.
After that extra and unexpected exertion, I was ready for my Camino breakfast and we found a place that sold amazing tortillas.
Camino breakfast.
The path to Burgos took us past the airport and then we were fortunate to find the alternate route into the city, which took us alongside a river and through a park rather than through an industrial area. It was a Sunday and there were many locals enjoying a leisurely stroll in the country park. I was looking forward to arriving in Burgos. It would be the first big city since Logroño and I would be taking a rest day. I had also booked an apartment that I would be sharing with a couple of other pilgrims.
Just trying to find our Airbnb. We must be on the Camino. Nearly there, just to left here. And our Airbnb is on the street. Just giving you a tour of the Airbnb. It's amazing. Bedroom here with a view of a church right behind, which is open, so we can go and have a look in there. That's my bag. And again, the same view of the church. I do think those bells may go off quite regularly, but I'm willing to take that to stay in such a beautiful place. So that was the kitchen. We have a washing machine, biscuits, tea, coffee, and then coming through here, and we have this amazing living dining area.
After resting up and doing some pilgrim tasks, including our laundry, it was time to go and explore the cathedral. Burgos Cathedral is huge and beautiful and it dominates the city centre. Using my pilgrim passport, I was able to get a discounted ticket to look around. Work began on Burgos Cathedral in the 1200s and there were substantial additions made to it in the 15th and 16th centuries. The cathedral is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and although I only spent an afternoon in there, I could probably have spent a week and still not seen everything. Two nights and a rest day in Burgos allowed me time to rest, catch up with friends, eat plenty of good food, explore museums and stock up on supplies. The following day I would be entering the Meseta, and I had heard that this was the most challenging section of the Camino, with approximately 10 days of flat, hot and exposed expanses of landscape. Many pilgrims skip this section or even rent bikes to get through it more quickly. The question is, would I, on foot, manage it?
We've entered the Meseta. Woohoo! Woohoo! 9 days of nothingness. I can't wait.
After having a rest day in Burgos, I was more than ready to set off again on the Camino. Today I would be entering the Meseta, a vast stretch of flat and exposed landscape.
The Camino is divided into 3 separate stages: body, mind and soul or spirit, and we have finished the body section, the physical side, and we are now moving into the Meseta, which is supposed to be more of a mental challenge. So I wonder how we will be challenged mentally. Stay tuned to find out.
We're all nervous.
I'm walking with Debbie this morning. All the Pellegrinos behind me. It's a big responsibility, everyone's following us. We need to make sure we're going in the right direction.
The route out of Burgos was like following a sculpture trail.
Scallop shell on him.
As we had spent a rest day in Burgos, we were regularly meeting new pilgrims that we hadn't met before, which was really nice. Although I had enjoyed a day off in the city, I was more than ready to get back on the trail.
Just been into this little church and we've been blessed by a nun who gave us a necklace her blessing and a hug. It was really cool.
After having a rest break in the village of Hornillos del Camino, a local invited us into their home to see their portrait photo collection of pilgrims, which covered the walls of their living room. Setting off again, we entered wide open landscapes exposed to the sun and wind. Trees were rare, but when they did appear, the shade underneath was usually occupied by a pilgrim. We went past the turn-off for Sansol, a small donativo albergue, and carried on towards Hontanas, where we had booked for the night.
We've booked to go to San Birgitta albergue, and I think they have a spa there, which you pay extra for. But if it's true and if it's open, that would be a dream. I'm not getting my hopes up too much, but there is a little bit of hope there. Hontanas. Oh, so excited. Laundry room in there. Water. Boots stored down there. This has got to be one of the best albergues on the Camino. Bar selling beer, watermelon, and up here there's more laundry facilities, but also where we peg out. Right now, I'm going to finish my beer and try out the spa, because there is a spa here. If you walk the Camino, you have to stay here. It's amazing. So if you were wondering if there was a swimming pool or spa facilities in any albergue on the Camino Frances, I can tell you there is. Oh, there's no salad. But the water comes out really, really cold and then it goes really, really, really hot. Woo. And this is a special foot massager.
I haven't been there yet. I'm just trying right now.
Five. Oh yeah.
Five.
And your butt.
Yeah, your butt.
All the muscles that we use every day. You don't need a massage, it does it all for you.
It does.
And to top it all off, in this albergue they served a communal paella at the end of the evening.
Help yourself, attack it.
Good morning. It is about 7:20. I've set off really late. I know it sounds early, but it's not early for setting off on the Meseta. I could tell how many people had gone and how many were left by the number of pairs of shoes left on the rack. When I grabbed mine, there was only like 5 left. It's weird. I'm wanting my own space, but I'm also wanting the company of others. I couldn't get to sleep for ages last night, which was really unhelpful for this morning because I couldn't wake up. Consequently, I'm now behind my friends, which is fine, but it's also not fine. I'm just feeling a little bit like, oh, but this is what I wanted on the Camino, and I'm in the mental bit now, so maybe this is mind games I'm having with myself. I wanted space and time alone. I also crave the company of others. It's just a strange mix. I've only got 245 miles to go to Santiago, or 457 kilometres. That means I'm halfway, nearly. I've loved the way when I'm walking with people, they're sort of often jumping for the spiritual opportunities as well, like the church being open and a nun blessing people. Everyone was lined up. They wanted to be blessed by the nun. They wanted to feel something. They wanted to experience something. We're here for more than a walk. And yeah, I love doing that in community. I love having those experiences when it's more than you that has it. But I think there's also a time to reflect on your own. After my little wobble a minute ago, I'm feeling really good now. The sun's rising behind me. It's incredible. I've just said hi to a couple of pilgrims that have passed me. A guy from Switzerland and someone else I didn't find out his name or where he was from. Just together admiring the beauty of this place and the sunrise as well. I'm enjoying being here alone now, and I'm enjoying the casual interactions I have with other pilgrims. No agenda. It's actually freedom. Sometimes we don't notice when we have a gift right in front of us. We don't see it as a gift. I think what we see is our fears and anxiety. If we think to ourselves, what is this? What do I have in my hands right now? I could be at work, but right now I have this gift of walking the Camino in this beautiful landscape, and I have time to think, to rest my mind, rest my brain, contemplate on things. And that, to me, I'm now realising, is an incredible gift. My decisions don't need to be motivated or driven by fear or worry. Up ahead are the ruins of San Anton Monastery, which is also an albergue. A very basic one. Every now and again, it's really good to look back on the Camino and see where you've come from. I've got a hill ahead of me there. The Meseta is not flat. Just going up this hill, someone told me was called Heart Attack Hill. I think it would be really tough doing this in the heat of the afternoon. It's late morning, so it is warming up. I do feel hot, but it's going to get much warmer later, and I wouldn't like to be tackling it then. I'm definitely going to have a little rest break here. Hi! I'm doing a sock change, and I've also just done a dressing change on my foot to try and stop them from getting worse. I've just done a running foot repair at the top of that hill. I've realised that when you're hiking day after day after day, feet become incredibly important and a topic of conversation, and it's completely socially acceptable to stick your foot on a chair in a cafe and start peeling off plasters and popping blisters. Something that would normally be pretty gross. Well, it is pretty gross, but it's just totally accepted here at this stage in the Camino. The views from up here are amazing. The trail down there is the Camino. I can see pilgrims walking all the way along. A little oasis in the Meseta a food truck and some shade, and lots of peregrinos resting. Entering the province of Palencia. Ahead I can see, right in the distance, a small town or village, which is where I'm staying tonight. It's now just over a kilometre till that town that I kept seeing, and it looked close, but it isn't. I feel like so hot, dry, and a little bit delirious. I definitely need to get hydrated, electrolytes, and rested. Nearly there. At last, Boadilla del Camino, the town I'm heading for. And the albergue, there's a sign for it. Oh, best pancakes on the Camino. Great, juntos. This is Boadilla del Camino. That's the hotel. I'm not staying there. There's an albergue behind it. I'm not staying there either. Just been to visit my friend in the hotel there. She's staying there tonight. I'm staying up the street in the albergue that's run by a Dutch couple.
The next morning I set off after a pancake breakfast.
Good morning. Sunrise on the Meseta. After leaving Boadilla del Camino this morning, the path initially follows alongside a canal, which is really nice. It's nice to be near water in the Meseta. There are trees growing alongside the canal as well, and birds making lots of noise. So tiny but so noisy. Little sparrows.
Leaving Poblacion de Campos, there was a possible alternate shorter route along a road.
I'm following the Camino path because I didn't want to walk along the road. It's a little bit tough on the feet because it's kind of gravel and there's no shade. I do have my sun umbrella. My heels are really hurting today. I've got blisters on both heels. I think they develop when I kind of do a longer day. The first time with my family, when I did a 29-kilometre day, is when I got my first blister. And that was healing up, but then I sort of got another blister on top of it. And I've got another one in exactly the same place on the other foot now. And that one developed the day that I walked the 31.5 kilometres. So it seems to be the days where I push it that little bit further that my body responds in a negative way. That sign cannot be right. I thought we had 400 kilometres to go. I know that's a road sign, but anyway, about 6 kilometres to go today to Carrion de las Condes. I've just spoken to another pilgrim who's staying in the albergue where the singing nuns are, but sadly she's just found out they're not there tonight. So that's helped me make a decision on where to stay. I've been offered a spare bed in a room with another pilgrim who's booked into a hostel, like a guest house, so I'm going to take that bed option tonight.
At Carrion, I looked into the church attached to the Santa Clara convent, and the nuns from this closed order were singing their vespers from behind a grill at the back of the church. I then checked into the room, caught up with some friends and looked around the town and the church before I met up with some friends that I had first met at Border Hostel back on the first night for dinner.
Good morning. I'm leaving Carrion de los Condes extremely late today. It's after 9. When I woke up this morning, I had bites on my legs. I thought they were mosquito bites, and they may well be. However, I then inspected my bed and I found a little bug in there, which was dead. I took a picture of it, lots of pictures of it, and then I've been Googling, and it does look very suspiciously like a bed bug. I was in denial. I came out of my room. The person from where I was staying was actually in the hallway, and I just said goodbye. I didn't say anything. And then I went to a cafe, and actually another pilgrim was there waiting for the post office to open, someone that I met on day 1. And I told her, and she's like, you need to spray your stuff. You've got, the stuff you have to do. And I know all this in my head, but in the moment I was having a bit of I was in denial, as I just said. I had breakfast and then I pulled myself together. I decided to go back to where I stayed last night. I'm not going to name where it was. The people were absolutely lovely, and they obviously do their best to keep these things at bay. The special covers on the mattresses, all of the things that they can do. And I searched the room and could not find any evidence for any other ones. And, I could have brought it with me. I just don't know. Anyway, he didn't deny that the photo was potentially a bed bug, but he had a can of spray with him, and then he sprayed my pack for me, and then I asked him also to spray my shoes, because you can even carry them in your shoes. So I think I've done what I can do. I need to wash stuff on a hot wash. I'm just actually figuring it out right now what to do, but my immediate issue right now is I have a 17-kilometre walk as I leave this town to the next place of civilization, and there are absolutely no facilities in between here and the next place. Apparently there could potentially be a food truck, but that's not guaranteed.
The bug in the bed had really thrown me. It was one of my Camino fears, and here I was faced with it. But on the plus side, the food truck was very much in existence, and I enjoyed chocolate cake, café con leche and freshly squeezed orange juice.
This is how I imagine the Meseta. My intention is to stop at the next town, have another little break, and then I've got 5 more kilometres, I think, after that. Someone's made these arrows. We are at last arriving in Ledigos. Albergue La Marina, that's where we're staying. An update on, is it a bed bug or is it not a bed bug? I am being cautious, and I'm going to put all of my laundry except what I'm wearing in the washing machine.
I did what I could do in the circumstances and settled down to enjoy a summer's evening with friends.
I set off about 15-20 minutes ago from Ledigos. The people that are walking now have been treated to the most incredible lightning storm ahead of us. It's far enough away that we're not in the storm, but there are just flashes of lightning that kind of happen all over the sky, and hopefully I've managed to capture some of it. I've never seen anything like that before in my life. Amazing.
Nature continued to put on an amazing display. As soon as the lightning storm ended, there was another beautiful Meseta sunrise and hundreds of more excited loud birds making a racket from the few trees that lined the way.
After an hour and a half of walking this morning, this little bar has come at the perfect time. These are little bodegas built into the hillside. They're not hobbit houses. They were used for food storage and winemaking. We're at the formal halfway point here. I know we have crossed the halfway point, but this is the formal halfway point, and
It feels quite an achievement, doesn't it?
it's an achievement, Harry.
Street art is common in towns along the Camino, but this was the first time I had seen one in the process of being painted. You may recognise some of the characters from the Martin Sheen movie, The Way. I had reached Sahun halfway through the Camino Frances. Earlier that day, I had made a booking at a monastery which is run and hosted by a group of Marist priests. After collecting my halfway certificate, doing my laundry outside, we had a communal sharing time followed by an optional mass in the church with a pilgrim blessing and then a shared dinner back at the monastery. It was a very special place to stay.
Leaving the monastery very late this morning, just before 8. I want to do at least 30 kilometers today. Yesterday was really short, and I'm really glad it was because I had just such a lovely time, restful time, contemplative time in the monastery. They're a religious order there, Marist priests, and there was also a sister there as well. Yeah, so it was really interesting talking to them and just finding out about their way of life a little bit more. But they were just incredibly down-to-earth normal people, and they wore normal clothes, and they were there for the pilgrims. They sit and listen to people every single day. They welcome pilgrims every single day, and yeah, they just do that on repeat over and over, and it really blesses us.
So far today, I'd mainly walked on my own and my confidence was growing.
I've never had to get up and walk day after day after day. Now I know it's possible. I know my body can adapt and I can do it. And I often like now walking on my own. That was something I was worried about at the beginning or before I came. How would I manage with the hours of solitude? And I'm actually really enjoying it. It's not a problem. Look who I found. I find him every day actually. I saw him last night. Harry, famous Harry from Scotland.
I found her underwear on the clothesline last night.
In a monastery.
In a monastery.
I know it felt a bit like awkward hanging up my underwear in a monastery, but I had to dry it somehow.
I walked the rest of the way to Reliegos with Harry before checking out the local sites, including the bodegas and Bar Elvis. I also had a communal dinner with my fellow pilgrims in the albergue.
Today the Camino is going to follow roads mainly, and I've been warned there's a long industrial stretch going into Leon. But that's okay, it's all part of the Camino. Some bits are beautiful, some bits less so, and life's like that too. About 13 kilometers outside of Leon, the Scenery has changed again. On the left we've got maize growing. The crop's definitely different now, there's no more sunflowers. This is a busier road that I'm walking alongside today.
At Puente de Villarente, the Camino path did deviate off the main road as the bridge is not safe for pedestrians. It was just after this town that I ran into another difficulty.
Okay, keeping it real, I'm at a pretty low point right now. I think I've developed tendinitis in the top of my foot. I've just googled it. Anterior tibialis tendinitis is, I'm pretty sure, what I've got. The treatment for it is rest ice compression elevation. I've still got 11 kilometers to walk. It's flat, so that's the good news. Just spoke to home and got, some encouragement and take it easy and be careful and all of that. But I have reached out to a couple of people and it's been suggested take a taxi. I don't want to take a taxi. It's just pretty tough right now and every step hurts. I've just called in at a pharmacy and I've bought some gel to put on it. So I've rubbed that in, and at first I thought it was helping. After about 20 minutes it started to feel marginally better, but the problem is that I'm just using it all the time. I probably need to have a day off in Lyon to rest it. I've got some kinesiology tape. I will figure out how to do that. I'm really struggling right now. Lyon feels a really long way away. Although I've booked a bed, I'm just thinking the thought of being in a top bunk is not appealing to me right now when I eventually get there. I've just sent them a message to ask if it's possible to have a lower bunk. I don't know if it is or not. I knew aspects of the Camino would be difficult. I'm just having probably the lowest moment right now, actually.
I soon reached a point where I had to stop.
I was crying and sitting on a bench in the rain, and two lovely pilgrims that I've met previously. I couldn't remember their names. Rhonda and Ria, I asked them again. They were just really encouraging, and they said, why don't you put your tape on that you've got? It's going to help. So I've just done that now. The pain is actually here, and it's as I flex my foot like that, it's really sore, and point it as well. I'm getting really horrible pain just where that tendon is. So I was crying on a bench in the rain. Definitely a low point, but even in the low points there's just some really beautiful things, like really lovely encouraging people. I'm gonna just lace my shoe up and get on. I've still got 11 kilometers. The ladies that walked on by were actually a real encouragement to me. They were my Camino angels, just when I needed them.
Despite the pain I was in, I was determined to walk to Lyon. And I did make it. After I checked into my hostel and treated my leg with ice, I ventured outside and bumped into some French pilgrims that I knew, and they invited me out to dinner with them, which was really nice.
It's crazy frog. Who wants to taste?
But the reality was, I was facing the question, was this the end of my Camino?
After being in Lyon for 3 nights, I'm finally leaving.
After experiencing an injury in my lower leg, which became much worse on the walk into Lyon, I ended up staying in the city for 3 nights to allow it some time to recover. I found an orthotist who recommended an insole for my shoe, and I practiced self-care, including applying ice to my leg while eating chocolate churros. Lyon is a beautiful city with a Gaudi house, an incredible cathedral and a basilica. There are even subterranean Roman ruins to explore. But after 2 days off, I was desperate to be back on the Camino. Although my leg was still in pain, it now felt manageable, so at dawn on day 3, I left my hostel, followed the yellow arrows out of the city and returned to the Camino Frances. I've been warned to take it easy, not walk too far. In my head I want to walk a 30km a day, but let's see, I probably should do about 20 or probably only 10 actually. The Camino goes past here. I'm just going to find my way out of Leon. My leg feels alright, I can feel it niggling. I've got my new insoles in. I have taped my leg, and I've also been very generous with the ibuprofen or the Voltarol gel. I need to find the Camino now, so I'm going to go and try and find the arrows. Oh, left, I found them. The easiest place to get lost on the Camino is when you're exiting a city very early in the morning and the arrows are not very obvious. I left the city limits of Leon, looked into a couple of churches which were open for pilgrims, and then I was faced with a decision. There's huge debate coming up. There's lots of people stood making decisions about which way to go. There's an alternate route, the scenic route, which is 4 kilometers longer, or the regular Camino route, which is along a main road and is not very interesting. I'm now on the scenic route. I've made a booking for tonight, so I know I've got a bed, and I'm just gonna take my time, listen to my body and do the shorter distance today. Just doing 18k, which is 11 miles. I need to help my body recover, so that's what I've decided to do. The scenic route actually joined with the Via de la Plata. Again, I would have to come back to walk this Camino another time. This alternate route is much better for me, away from the tarmac, the busy traffic, and just being out in nature again. But I'm enjoying the walk today. I arrived at my albergue around lunchtime in Villa de Mazarí. I stayed in the huge bunk room, although there were only about 5 of us sleeping in it. The food was great and I enjoyed meeting other pilgrims at the dinner table. Morning. I didn't sleep the best last night. The hostel was really welcoming and kind, and it had really good reviews, and I can see why. They're volunteers, they're there for the pilgrims, they care for the pilgrims. And there's not that many places on the Camino that are like that. You can't always find one like that every day, so I was pleased to find one last night. I've got a 32km walk today. My leg is so much better. The weather forecast this afternoon is for some rain. I've made sure that I've shoved everything down inside my pack liner and squashed the pack liner over the top of it because my pack's not fully waterproof. So if water does get in there, my stuff should stay dry. I'm looking forward to making good progress today. I soon arrived in Hospital de Orbigo and I started to cross the longest footbridge I had ever seen. This is a really long bridge. The 13th century bridge is 200 metres long. The legend says that on this bridge a knight from Leon confronted other knights wanting to cross it to a duel in order to undo a pledge of slavery to his beloved Lady Leonor. The flies are really bad. A guy from Switzerland just gave me some of his spray. I've sprayed myself, but it's not really working. I think I've still got another 11 kilometers or so to Astorga. It's
a bit up and down now, definitely out of the Meseta, and I can see mountains ahead.
Soon after the Donativo stall, I met Jojo and her dog Liam. They had set off walking from Finisterre and were aiming to walk all the way to Jerusalem together. Soon after that, I met a man from a travelling family. He had cycled here from the north of France, and after reaching Santiago, he intended to carry on to Portugal. I was loving the slow pace of the walk and meeting so many interesting people along the way. As I approached Astorga, a storm had started. I was quite scared of lightning while crossing a long metal footbridge across a railway line.
I'm scared of lightning. It's one of my fears. I just want to get off this metal high up bridge as quickly as possible.
I did make it to the other side without incident. After checking into my albergue, I went and checked out some of the Roman ruins in the city of Astorga before going back and having the communal dinner.
Leaving Astorga this morning. I've just been into a cafe and had cafe con leche, croissant, orange juice, the usual. When I've stayed in the dorm rooms, the dorms that I've liked the best are the ones with the pod beds with curtains, so you've got your own privacy. Last night I was in a bottom bunk, which is great, but the alternate beds had some wooden panelling on them to give some privacy for almost every other bed, but I was lying quite close to another bunk. There was a Frenchman in the bed quite close to me on the other side, so there were some blankets at the end of the room that did look very clean. I just hung that over the edge of the bed, and it meant I was screened off both sides, and it just gave me a bit more privacy, and I felt a little bit more cocooned and able to sleep. But tonight my friend is coming to meet me on the Camino, and we've got a private room booked. Just coming out of Astorga, there's this sweet little church that's open. A lot of pilgrims are coming and going from there, so I'm going to go and have a look. Just walking into Santa Caterina del Samos, and it looks like there is somewhere for coffee / second breakfast / bathroom facilities, and seeing people that I've been walking with along the way this morning. We all walk at different paces, so it's a time to catch up with people. I've gone for a healthier option today with protein, and she gave me this for free. Freshly squeezed orange juice, cafe con leche. So nice to see the kilometre markers coming down, now under 250. This is a really peaceful church. I'm whispering, but I'm in here all by myself. There's a monastery across the road from the church, and I guess the brothers, fathers, whatever in the monastery are the priests here too. But it's got a different feel about it. It's basic, stripped back. None of the glitz of some of the other churches, but it feels peaceful. Opposite the church was a monastery. I just called in there because they had the stamp, and I spoke to brother Carrion, who is German, born in Bavaria. He got his phone out and showed me the radar map of the weather, and he's basically warning me not to go walking now in the mountains, which we're now getting into mountains, because he showed me what weather was coming, and he said, you know, back home in Bavaria we would never go out in this, and he said, and the only people that go out in this here are pilgrims. And I was like, I know, and I'm a pilgrim and I need to keep walking to the next village, which he said, well, that's 2 hours away, and look at the weather. And it was very kind of him to warn me not to go, but yeah, I hope it'll be all right. After yesterday me saying I'm scared of thunder and lightning, I still am, so I hope it was just rain and not storm. Anyway, it's not 2 hours, it was like 6 kilometers, 5 kilometers away. So fast walking, it's an hour and a bit. I can do this.
I made it to Fontsiebaden and was reunited with my friend who had driven 3 hours to meet me from Madrid.
We're walking. We're doing it.
My friend wanted to experience the Camino, and we set off the next morning together from Fontsiebaden. She had actually joined me for the highest section of the Camino Frances, and after a climb we soon reached Cruz de Ferro. A wooden pole with an iron cross on top of it marks the highest point of the Camino Frances. Underneath is a pile of rocks where pilgrims traditionally bring a rock from home and leave it at the base. After leaving our rocks behind and laying them down at the foot of this wooden pole with the iron cross, we continued on our way.
I've got no idea what's going on here, we'll find out.
A group of pilgrims were listening to the wise words of a legendary character on the Camino Frances. Thomas is the last of the Knights Templar. He lives here in the mountains and takes his calling to take care of pilgrims very seriously.
This path coming down is reminding me of the path going into Zubiri, but the weather is a lot different. I'm glad I wasn't doing it yesterday because it would have been like a river with all the rain. It is so stunning though. And my friend Doreen, she has survived this section. I've pushed her to her limits. Keep going, Doreen.
I think I can.
You can. Yes, you can. I've just left my friend in the village of Al Acebo, which is the village that you come to when you come off the mountain. It's been a lovely 7-mile walk this morning. Yeah, my friend does not normally do long distance hiking. She's now going to get a taxi to her car and then drive to Ponferrada, so I'll meet her in Ponferrada.
Listening to myself say the names of now familiar places on the Camino is actually really cringy. I have to apologise for any offence caused by my appalling mispronunciation of Spanish words and place names. After Riego de Ambros, there was another tricky section of path to navigate.
I feel like I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm just walking along a path in the scrubland in the base of the mountains. And there was a little stall with a woman and a probably 10-year-old son. They're selling slices of watermelon for €1. So watermelon and this colour melon, so I bought a slice of melon.
I navigated the final section of path to Molina Seca.
I think I can now walk on a paved path, which normally I don't love, but after coming down off the mountain, the path was not that easy to negotiate, and actually an easy walk on on flat ground. It's now very appealing. And I've looked at the map. There is an alternate route into Ponferrada, which follows the road. And I think that's the side of Ponferrada I need to be on for where I'm staying tonight. So I will probably take the slightly shorter alternate route along the road. I'm on the last 3.5 or 4 kilometres coming into Ponferrada. It's been lovely being in the mountains, and I was quite happy initially to be on a paved path next to a road. It's not the most interesting. I want to be there now. It's actually not very far. I've got about 50 minutes walking. I just need to keep going. Nearly there.
I reunited with my friend in Ponferrada. She would be heading back home to the States the next day, so we enjoyed our time together exploring the town, the Basilica and Knights Templar Castle, as well as doing mundane but essential tasks such as laundry. The following day I would be saying goodbye to her and heading off alone again to Villafranca del Bierzo. This was my 29th day on the Camino Frances. I was leaving the urban environment of Ponferrada and getting ever closer to Santiago de Compostela. In this next section, I would reach the start of the busiest section of this Camino route, Sarria, but I still had a few more days left on the trail before joining the busyness that I had been hearing so much about.
This is a special region for wine growing. George, who's ahead, was just telling me it's called Bierzo. George, what's it called?
Bierzo.
Bierzo wine.
Yes, it's a little appellation with a delicious wine.
Okay. I had some regional wine last night. I wonder if it was this. It was really nice anyway. There are the grapes. We're back in the mountains. It's beautiful again. We've left the road behind us. Now we're in apple orchard territory. From grapes to apples.
And back to vineyards again.
This is my crazy friend Doreen, being my pacemaker car. She's gonna meet me for lunch. I love her, she's so much fun.
I said goodbye to my friend who had come to join me on the Camino for a day and a couple of nights.
An old wine press. This is an albergue. Each of these cabins has 2 beds in it, and they go all the way around the outside of the church. That can't be right. I saw a sign earlier for 197 or something, but maybe that's by the road.
Entering Villafranca, pilgrims walk past the Church of Santiago, which was built in the 12th century and is where pilgrims who are too sick to continue all the way to Santiago de Compostela could receive a pardon.
My albergue! I could have taken the shortcut out of Villafranca this morning, but I noticed I was going to miss some landmarks if I did that and if I followed them. So let me show you why I've kind of added probably a couple of 100 meters onto the walk. This is the actual Camino route, and this is the route I want to follow because it takes you past those kind of historic sites and those old churches and things like that. So I'm on the proper Camino. I'm now behind everyone that was leaving Villafranca at the same time as me, but that doesn't really concern me. It's 7 a.m. I've got a long walk today and it's a difficult one. It's not the distance that concerns me. It's the climb up to Ocebrero. I just had a bit of an awkward moment. I've just used the bathroom there was actually like a service station. We're walking parallel to quite a main road. So I went in and used that because there's, you know, free toilets in there and everything. And then I come out and then there's a Pilgrim just right at the side of the road opposite the service station. And then I realised he's just standing there having a wee, like over the crash barrier. And I'm like, it's just right in there open, and it's a bit awkward because I was literally walking right past him and it was right opposite the service station. So I don't really understand why you wouldn't just go in and use the toilet. I sound judgy. I'm not judging. I'm just like, it's a bit awkward for the other people that are around you, especially when a woman is just walking behind you and you've got your thing out. I didn't see that, but it's just a bit much. Sorry, TMI. Keep walking. A second kind of awkward thing. It's actually quite a common thing that happens on the Camino, and every pilgrim must experience this. Obviously, when you're walking, you often end up falling in step with someone else. But sometimes there's an assumption that, oh no, we're walking together, let's walk together all day. I struggle with that a little bit because everyone's here for different reasons. Some people love walking in a group the whole time, but actually one of the things that I was concerned about was walking by myself. How was I going to manage? But what I've learned to discover on this Camino is I actually really cherish that time. I like listening to podcasts. I'm alone with my thoughts. I can think about stuff or think about nothing or just observe what's going on around me and pray and listen to music, things like that. I've really appreciated that. Those times that you walk together with someone are actually really important, and I do really value them. But what I've realised is I like doing it for a few kilometres or a few miles, and then I like to kind of break off again. But sometimes the other person's expectation is different, and I find it, being British, quite difficult to get my needs across. And then I start talking in a roundabout way, like, oh, why don't you go on ahead? I just need to stop here for something. But they're like, oh no, don't worry, I'll wait for you. And instead I just need to walk alone for a bit. But but I find that rude. So I don't know, maybe that's my Britishness, maybe it's I'm not assertive enough, but I haven't quite got that one yet. So it's something I need to work on. And I'm in the less than 200 kilometers to Santiago, so I haven't got that long to figure it out, but I'll try.
The path up to O Sobrero is long and steep, and some pilgrims hire a horse at the bottom to take them and their bags up to the top of the hill.
Starting to get a little bit more muddy now. You can see the horse hoof prints, but it's about to get steep. That's going to be the challenge. You can just hear me breathing. I watched a YouTube video of someone hiking up this path, doing the Camino, obviously. She really struggled on this section because of the smell of the horse poop. It's not bothering me. I don't know if that's just, I can't smell it. That's not the challenge to me. The challenge is the gradient of the slope. Definitely some muddy sections and horse poop to avoid, but it's not been too bad. In 0.25 or 0.3 of a kilometre there is a village with a water fountain. I'm going to sit down and eat my cheese bocadillo sandwich. I was talking to my friend Christina, who's on the trail ahead of me, and she told me this was really, really good drinking water. It's cold. I'm going to sit and have a break. My friend was not wrong, this water is actually amazing. The path's still climbing, but it's levelled out a bit now, making it much more manageable. I also love these flowers. You see them all over the place. They just sometimes pop through even the path that you're walking on. Very beautiful. Still climbing. It's a little bit deceptive, so although the path is more level than it was, I've just looked at the gradient map and it's only going to be like this for a very short section, and it's going to go up, up, up again all the way to O Sobrero. But I've only got 3 kilometers to go. I am very nearly there. It's meant to be a really interesting village.
As I walked up the road, I noticed a small snack bar, and as I was wondering to myself whether they would be okay with me paying for a drink with a €50 note, I saw that a herd of cows was heading in my direction, and one of them literally seemed to run right at me, only turning away at the very last moment.
This cow just like ran at me, and it was coming straight towards me, and it was only in the very last second it kind of turned away. At the time I felt fine. It was afterwards my heart was racing, and it kind of, the adrenaline caught up with me. Another pilgrim also captured it because he was filming them. It didn't look quite as freaky from his angle, but he said he thought I was gonna literally get attacked by the cow. And I was like, yeah, you just kind of witness a bit of a near-death experience, so it wasn't really, but I felt like I was running with the bulls in Pamplona. I did just stop at the bar and I got myself a radler, which is shandy in the UK. Beer mixed with lemonade. So a tiny bit of alcohol in it, but it's half lemonade. It was actually really nice. I was like, oh, that was a bit scary. I'll just sit down and gather my thoughts and my energy before I finish the last 2 kilometres. I thought today was meant to be downhill. Seems to be a lot of uphills, but look at this view. I just walked past a farm and lots of dogs, but the farmer's wife was standing outside with a plate of freshly made pancakes. She was selling each pancake for €1. It was pretty good income generation. I feel alive because it's windy, it's rainy, I'm up in the hills, and it's just like being at home in the UK, hiking in the Lake District in the north of England, and I'm in my element and I love it.
I arrived in the town of Triacastella in the early afternoon. It's a popular stopping point, but I had decided to press on. Here there is a choice of routes to take, to go direct to Sarria or to take an alternate longer route via Samos, where there is a huge monastery. I wanted to visit Samos, so I waved goodbye to fellow pilgrims who were already having their beers in a bar, and I walked 10 more kilometres.
I'm just approaching the monastery complex in Samos. I can just start to see buildings appearing through the trees ahead of me. I need to be careful. There are acorns and walnuts falling all around me in this wind. This complex is incredible.
After checking into my accommodation, I had a quick turnaround and was able to get onto the last tour of the monastery that day. There was certainly a lot of impressive artwork, and after the tour I joined other pilgrims at the Pilgrim Mass. I enjoyed being in Samos, although that evening and the next morning there was something playing on my mind.
I've got a 20-kilometre walk today. There are 2 routes. One is by a road, but you're advised not to take it. It's very dangerous because there isn't a separate path. The other is up in the hills through woods and is much more remote. Now, the thing that concerns me about this, I've kind of missed the bubble of people leaving this morning. So I think they're only about 5 minutes ahead of me. People just left the bar where I've just had breakfast. You see the church behind me in the monastery. Yesterday, the walk to Samos, I did late in the afternoon. I didn't get here till about 5. At the beginning, I saw 2 other female pilgrims. They were really taking their time, and I don't think they were coming all the way to Samos. And then after that, I was completely on my own. And to be honest, it was a little bit creepy. I saw 2 people walk the Camino the other way. The second one, I wasn't sure of. Last night I was chatting to a lady in the bar when I went for dinner, and she said she had a scary experience. She met a guy walking towards her. She just didn't feel safe at all, and she ended up going into the only bar on the way and called a taxi. I walked, but I didn't actually feel comfortable, and I had some sort of like, oh, is there somebody following me vibes. First time I felt like that on the Camino. And obviously Samos, as I say, not that many pilgrims come here. So I've got another walk through the woods now. Great, and I think I've left. I was so tired after my 30 plus kilometers yesterday that I may have missed the bubble of pilgrims walking. It's highly likely. It's now like 8:30. It's really late. Anyway, hopefully I'll catch some up.
To some people, this may seem a little overdramatic, my reaction, but I did feel shaken up by it. I talk more about it in my dark side of the Camino video if you want to check that out.
The route from Samos to Sarria is absolutely beautiful, and it's quiet. It's a moment of reflection and taking stock, because I've been warned that when I reach Sarria, the craziness will begin. But right now, it feels a million miles away from all of that craziness. I'm just walking along next to rivers, next to cows, through forests, and there's everywhere I look, all of these plants next to me. It's wild mint, and it just smells amazing. Just entering the tiny hamlet of Seville. Is that a cow? I don't know if it's real. I don't think it's real. This is meant to be a great place for breakfast, so I'm gonna find out. Hola. There's the cow that I thought was real.
This farmhouse was also a sweet little pension with a cafe, and it was like sitting in someone's living room having my first taste of Santiago tart and hot chocolate. My map shows down that road to the left, so there's a fork in the road. It shows to the left. There's also another little fork down here. My map does not show this. This hamlet is very keen for you to come this way. They have put many arrows here, so I'll just follow them. Hi, dog. Hey. Hello. Hola. Spanish speaking dog. I'm talking to the dog in English, doesn't understand. Eventually, I joined up with the main trail from Triacastella, and it was very strange being with so many people again after walking by myself for 2 days.
I've got about an hour before I get to Sarria. I've really enjoyed the peace this morning, and now I've joined the main part of the trail, which has many pilgrims walking on it, but not nearly as many as there will be when I arrive in Sarria.
The section between Sarria and Santiago is the busiest on the Camino Frances, and this is because there is just over 100 kilometers to Santiago, the minimum required distance to be awarded the Compostela certificate.
Some serious crowds arriving in Sarria. I'm leaving. Sarria was actually fine. Because I arrived at lunchtime, all of today's pilgrims, well, the ones that arrived last night have already left. early this morning. The ones that I guess are leaving tomorrow were arriving. There was an albergue and a monastery on the edge of the town as you were leaving. That seemed really full. And there were little mini buses with school groups and big crowds of people outside. I guess they're leaving tomorrow. But I've actually got the path to myself at the moment. And I've only got 3 or 4 kilometres to go. I'm staying at Barbadello tonight. So that is off stage. It's 4 kilometres past Sarria. And it means that if I leave early enough in the morning, may be able to avoid the crowds. Let's see how that works out. Hi cows!
Hello, cows.
At least these ones didn't have horns. After setting off from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port 33 days ago, I was now on the final stretch to Santiago de Compostela. Leaving my albergue from just outside of Sarria, I set off on my way. This is the busiest section of the Camino, and I was in truth having a little bit of trouble adjusting.
I've set off really late this morning, like after 8:30. I had breakfast at the albergue. I thought I'd let the Sarria crowds pass first because I couldn't wake up early enough to leave before them. I think they just keep coming and coming and coming. So I think I'm just going to have to embrace it. People ahead of me are really struggling with it, and I think I'm allowing that to affect me. But maybe we need to adapt to the Camino. It doesn't have to adapt to us. The Frances is really a busy route anyway, the whole way along. So yeah, perhaps it's my attitude that needs adjustment, not the Camino itself. Also, in other news, the reason I was actually dropping behind the group that's in front of me is that I had to stop to get my card out to make a payment because I have just booked my flight home. I'm going uphill, so even though I've been walking for over a month, I still get out of breath going uphill, but I'm definitely fitter. I think there should be enough time. I may be able to walk to Finisterre, let's see. But I have to do some long days to get to Santiago. Today's just at the beginning I would never have said this. Today's just a 25 kilometre day, but I've had to put in some plus 30s to get to Santiago in 4 days rather than the usual 5. And then I need to calculate how long it takes to get to Finisterre. It just feels like the Camino's not going to finish for me at Santiago.
As we reached the 100 kilometre marker, there was definitely a sense of excitement in the air.
Yay! I'm at 100 kilometres! Yay!
안녕! 저 같이 여기 산티아고 가고 있어요. 하이!
This bridge is high. This is so high, I don't actually like it. I just successfully crossed the bridge. I am scared of heights, so that was a challenge for me, but I've made it.
As I arrived in Portomarin in the early afternoon, I joined fellow pilgrims for a delicious lunch. The Church of San Nicholas was moved brick by brick after the new reservoir forced villagers to move to a new location on the hillside. Portamarin is a popular stopping point for many pilgrims, but I had another 7.5 kilometers to go, so I set off in the afternoon.
So green, the greenest I've seen in Spain. 89.8. Right, now we know the secret sauce for the green grass. Here it comes. I cannot tell you how bad that smells. Oh, stop, thank goodness. Gonza, that's where I'm staying tonight.
That night, I treated myself to a private room and was happy to be reunited with some pilgrims that I kept bumping into on the trail.
I've got a 31.5 kilometre day today, so I left about 7:20. I've been going for a couple of kilometres maybe. The sky is starting to lighten up a little bit. It is possible to find peace and walk alone on the final section of the Camino. You may not have the Camino to yourself all day, but if you stay off stage, set off before dawn, you're going to have the first hour or two to yourself. You might want to walk in a big crowd, and that's fine. It's just I prefer a bit more quiet. It's 11:30. So far I've had one of the most peaceful days on the Camino, and this is on the final stretch. I'm about to arrive at Palos del Rey and it's before lunchtime. I've still got about another 15 kilometers to go because I'm going to Melide. I probably will stop here and get a snack and a drink, then push on to Melide. Oh, the church is open. I think I'm going to go in. It was lovely, it was so welcoming, and then there was a place where you could take a piece of paper in your own language, and it had a little Bible verse on it that was really encouraging, and I just took a random one, and it was really nice. Just walking through these eucalyptus plantations, the smell is amazing.
In Melide that night, I went out with fellow pilgrims for dinner, and Melide is well known for its octopus or pulpo, but octopus isn't for me, so I had something different.
Morning. I left Melide. I left my hostel about 6:35, 6:40 as I started walking. I realised that the bit that's been worn down on the inside of my shoe is actually starting to make another hot spot on my heel, and I think I was starting to get one on the other heel. So I stopped. I taped both my feet up to hopefully protect them from where my shoes are wearing down and starting to cut into me. Okay, today is, I don't know whether it's 33, 35 kilometres. I've heard different things, but it's a long way, which is why I've set off early. Did not get great sleep last night because there were some people in the hostel that were talking really loudly just outside our room till quite late. And then my bed was right by the door. I woke up when a man went to use the toilet at 4 a.m. So then I got up to use it, and yeah. Anyhow, I hope tonight I have better sleep, especially after walking such a long distance. Catch you later. I've seen what some of the locals do with the abandoned boots. I just have less than 30 kilometres to go now. Very exciting. I've been walking with Luke from Bruges in Belgium for the last, I don't know, 8 kilometres or so. It's been really nice walking with him. He actually set off from Saint-Jean the same day as me, and we're ending up together. He's going to stop short today and have a longer day into Santiago tomorrow. I'm going to have a longer day today and still about 20 kilometres into Santiago tomorrow. Today will actually be my longest day. It's going to be a 33 kilometre day. It's the longest I've done. But I'm feeling good right now because I'm fit. I've been training on the trail and my leg is recovered enough to walk on without causing me any problems. And just the odd new blister, which is a bit annoying, but I'm managing those, no problem. It's just my shoes are now at the end of their natural 500-mile life, so I did train in them beforehand a little bit, so they've now done over 500 miles, so unsurprising.
As I walked, I was trying to understand why I got so excited whenever I bumped into a pilgrim that I'd met earlier on the trail.
The reason I'm gelling with the pilgrims that have been on the trail for a long time, we set off not knowing can we do it. We set off in France or even before then. We have a shared experience. We've crossed the Pyrenees. We've stayed in convents and monasteries. Some of us have enjoyed the spa at Hontanas in the Meseta, and we can talk about that. We've had all these shared experiences together.
And now we were in the final stretch of the journey. Instead of talking about a place that we would eventually arrive at some point in the future, that time was so very nearly here. Instead of being on the journey, we would actually be arriving at the destination. And as the anticipation of reaching Santiago started to build, it was time to reminisce on the places we had travelled through and share stories about our experiences along the way, as well as even dare to talk about what awaited us when we returned back to our real lives. This was my final night before Santiago, and I had managed to catch up with 2 pilgrims that had stayed in the same albergue as me in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, and we would be finishing this Camino together because the next day we would walk into Santiago.
We're on our way to Santiago.
I met up with my friend Jeanette and we started walking before dawn. We had also arranged to meet Harry and we would walk in the final 10 kilometres together.
can't really quite believe that we've walked almost 500 miles from France to Santiago. We're so excited. You're on YouTube now. We're on the final 10.5 kilometers and we started in Saint Jean together and we're going to finish this thing together. We haven't seen each other for weeks on the Camino, but we managed to find each other last night, which was really, really cool. So very exciting. And we're going to catch up with our other friends who've already finished. At the 10.35 kilometer marker, there he is. Hello.
Hello.
It's Harry doing his happy dance.
Oh, it's so lovely to see you.
I'll spare you our singing, but we sang the Proclaimers' 500 Miles song. As I look back, I realise how privileged I was to have that amount of time to be able to walk across a country, as well as my health, and to meet such amazing people along the way. As we walked into the city, we were met with a really amazing surprise. One of our friends who had finished the Camino the day before us had walked back out to greet us and welcome us to Santiago.
Oh my god. Oh, I love it. Rub it all over me.
Debbie came to meet us.
Hola.
Down in the middle and sit down for a while. Just take it all in.
After finishing the Camino Frances, taking celebratory photos and going to collect my credential from the Pilgrim office, I spent the morning looking around Santiago, even seeing the Botafumeiro fly in the cathedral, and then it was time to move on.
I am just starting the Camino Finisterre. It's really late in the day. I arrived in Santiago yesterday and it's nearly 5 o'clock in the evening and I've got 10 kilometers to go, so I won't get there till 7:30 or something, and that's if I find the right route. Anyway, very excited to start the next stage. Many people that I know that have arrived here have already left, and yeah, now I'm leaving. Camino seems to go through this park. Santiago, onwards to Finisterre. just realised it's so nice just to be walking alone on the empty Camino. There's a river behind me. I just needed a little bit of peace and processing time. Oh, this reminds me of Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Let me show you. I've walked past many picnic areas in the woods, but there's a stone table over there just by itself. Actually, Spain is amazing for this, having these like little recreational areas. Sometimes there are barbecues to set up for people and things. It's now 6:30 at night, and apart from the odd person walking their dog, the Camino is empty. It's great. This is a new albergue on the Camino Finisterre. It's just 10 kilometers in after Santiago, and it's been open a year, and it was so nice, really nice. There were beds with the curtains on. It cost slightly more to stay there than some other albergues, but it was worth it, and actually the meal was cheaper, so it balanced out. But the laundry is a bit cheaper than elsewhere too. It was €3 for the washing machine, €3 for the dryer, and I combined with someone else, so made it cheaper again. Even on a main road, it can be absolutely beautiful. Buenos dias. A wild mint growing at the side of the road. It smells really nice.
Even though I was walking to Finisterre, I was actually starting to wonder whether I should change direction and go to Murcia instead.
I am having thoughts about changing at a place called the Great Divide, which is on this route, to walk to Murcia instead. I'm thinking about this. I don't think it's possible to do both. If I do a 40-something kilometre hike, I can do it. The furthest I've done is 33, and today I'm doing a 31 or 32, so that is a lot, and it's hilly. Not impossible. Anyway, something to think about. Here's a Camino dog. Not bothered by me, bothered by a cat. Oh, poor cat. I hope the cat got away. I think that dog's just running around causing trouble. Generally, most dogs are not bothered by pilgrims. You must be very used to them. If you walk the Camino in September, there is an absolute abundance of sweet chestnuts. I'm so hungry, and I've just arrived at this oasis. It has been raining quite a bit since I stopped for lunch. I am 59.825 kilometers away from Finisterre.
By this point, I had decided to stick with the original plan and walk to Finisterre. I was actually contemplating, why did I need to do a Camino after walking a Camino?
It's actually so nice to have this final Camino after doing the Frances. I've realised I really needed a time of decompression after the Camino. Yeah, I'm the only one here that I know, and I'm walking by myself, and that's actually quite an important thing for me to do, just to process and decompress after the past 36 days on the Camino Frances. I would recommend this if it's an option for you at the end of whatever Camino route you're on. It could be quite helpful, just saying. 50 kilometers to go. What's really obvious on this Camino is the concrete marker signs are not vandalised like they were on the Frances. There are some people walking behind me. I've started to get competitive and I want to beat them, but there's no way. They're gaining on me all the time. That's a cool Oreo. Some ponchos ahead. (7:15). I am just leaving Santa Marina. Got to find the Camino, I think it's up here. As you can see, it is rainy and dark. The video isn't capturing this at all, but this is really steep. Ahead of me is the body of water, and I initially thought, oh, I've reached the ocean. I was excited for a few seconds, and then I remembered, oh, on the map there is a big lake, and it is the big lake. I've been walking for some time without breakfast now. I am approaching a village that's meant to have a cafe, so I really hope the bar or the cafe is open. It does look like a big lake though, but apparently it's a lake, not the sea. I've also just booked my evening accommodation, and seeing as I have 2 nights left and enough money in my budget, I've gone for a private room. I know some people don't think that's very Camino-like, but it doesn't matter what anyone thinks, to be honest. I've got a private room tonight, and I've got a private room in Finisterre, and then I fly home. 2 more nights left in Spain. Wow. I've been here since the middle of August in Spain. So it's a really long time, and it's a lot to get my head around. I'm going to have to obviously go back to real life and adjust. That's why this final bit of the Camino feels very different to the Frances, which was all about getting to Santiago and walking with familiar faces. It was much more crowded. This has been a solo hike, it really has. The landscape is almost like moorland in the UK, in the high ground. There's heather, gorse, these pine trees, mist, wind, rain. It's like being at home. It's quite scary with all the cars. An old grain store, Oreo. Oh, it's called Alberg Oreo.
These are Oreos, which are grain stores found in Galicia and other parts of northern Spain. They are usually built of wood or stone, and they're raised from the ground to keep out rodents and water.
Okay, so I'm heading to Suseia today. Fiestas tomorrow. Oh, this is pretty. This is just typical of the chestnut trees and then the eucalyptus trees planted in rows. And then there are these fir trees. All of these seem to be so typical of this region. Obviously eucalyptus trees did not originate here. They were introduced here. The story goes that a monk that went to evangelize, I think in Australia, came back with eucalyptus seeds and planted them in Galicia, and they adapted really well to this environment. Just look at these chestnuts here. So they're still on this tree and a lot more fresh ones have just fallen. This Camino is so beautiful. It's just totally preparing me for my onward journey home. And of course the Camino stays with you. The lessons you've learned on it stay with you because so many of them you can apply to life. I just went past a bar, it's just behind me there. You can just about see it in the fog. There was a sign saying, last bar for 15 kilometers, eat and drink now. I've just walked past it. Hopefully I'll be fine. The Great Divide. Finisterre, just over 29 kilometers. Ultreia, just over 26 kilometers. Which one will it be? Finisterre.
In truth, I was more than a little surprised to come out of the woods and find myself face to face with a giant werewolf.
I've just got my first view of the sea. Oh my goodness. I need to get closer to show it on camera, but oh my goodness. I've walked here from France. That is crazy. This is the first view of the ocean since I've been on the Camino Frances. 17.794 kilometers to Finisterre. I'm keeping my hood up so my hat doesn't blow away, but it is such a cool feeling to reach the sea. Having walked here from the French Pyrenees, it's very cool. And tomorrow I get to Finisterre, so it's so exciting. Quite a grey morning, but it's beautiful. This is the last day of my Camino. I set off on the 21st of August It's now the 29th of September. So I've been walking a while, and I just texted my husband before and I said, I'm pretty tired now. I'm ready to stop walking and come home. And he sent me back the Forrest Gump quote, which I thought was quite funny. I'm pretty tired. I think I'll go home now. So yeah, that's exactly how I'm feeling. But I'm really enjoying this last day as well. And the scenery is incredible. I'm going to show you the heron again.
At times the Camino went inland, and at other times the Camino followed the coastline.
Hello. Just over 8 kilometers to go now till the end of my 2023 and first time ever Caminos. I'm sure there'll be more. Finisterre, nearly there.
As I approached the town of Finisterre, I came off the Camino path and finished the final section along the beach.
I can see my friend, she's waiting for me.
At the end of the beach, waiting to meet me, was a friend who I had met on the first day of the Camino Frances. Together we set off to walk the final 3 kilometers to Cape Finisterre.
Just approaching the 0 kilometer marker. Woo! Are you going to be on my YouTube video?
Yeah, I'm on your YouTube
Oh,
video.
she's on it!
38 days or something.
And she's not been on it. This is Christina. She's been hiding from all my videos. Right, we're arriving together at the 0 kilometer marker. Woo! We started in France and here we are. Oh my goodness. We made it! We made it! Woo!
It was a beautiful end to a 40-day Camino. The Camino had taught me many things, including that I can be alone and content. But that being said, we are not designed to be alone.
Why, yes, I can.
Special moments in life become even more special when they are shared with special people that we meet along the way.